everyone, my name is Ben. I am part of the EWB Israel and welcome to our project in Mekele. This is an open field tomato. It's a part of a demonstration plot that we built here a year ago. We started it a year ago to show new techniques of growing tomatoes and other vegetables. The basic principle in this plot is that the tomatoes are growing in drip irrigation instead of flooding irrigation as the traditional farmers doing. We have a main pipe over here. The pipe is getting water from a main tank about 100 meters from here, and it has drips every 30 centimeters. The plants have a 60 centimeter space between them. That's because that during its growing the plant is getting a larger volume than it's now, and we want to keep it as much air and wind through the plants. Another thing that we decided to do here is to grow the tomatoes on raised beds. Each bed is about 20 or 30 centimeters above the ground, and it's again 40 to 30 centimeters wide. The reason we do this is to let more air get inside the root zone. We're dealing here with a very heavy soil, and while we irrigate it, the roots can suffer from suffocation if they don't have enough air. Another thing you can see here is that the tomatoes are straying to a main cable, which is about 1.5 meters high, and this is to keep the tomato growing up and to prevent the fruit of touching the ground. So what we see here is the construction for the tomato. We have a main barb cable that goes 1.5 meters above the ground. It is held by wooden poles. Each pole is 2 meters height, and it's buried about 50 centimeters in the ground. The reason that it's buried so deep is it's very important that this construction will be strong. Eventually, while the plants are growing, they're getting heavier and heavier, and this should support the weight of the fruits. The base of the cable is buried here under these piles of rocks. It is tied to another rocks, and on top of it all of these rocks that you can see here. This is very important to keep the barbed wire with the high tension, because we don't want the weight of the tomatoes to fail it. The connection between the barbed wire and the wooden pole is made by 2 nails that is stick to the poles and then smashed into the barbed wire. This way it prevents the barbed wire to fall from the wooden poles. As we mentioned before, the space between each poles is 6 meters, with the first and last pole has an angle of about 70 degrees. What we will show you now is a method to tie the tomatoes while they're growing. The reason we are doing it is first of all, we're trying to avoid the tomato touching the soil while they're growing. The soil is usually wet when we irrigate it, and when the plant or the tomato touch the soil, it will get disease and fungus, and it will be much harder for us later to sell it in the market. The second reason is to try to bring as much air and wind through the leaves. This will help us to prevent disease and accumulation of pests. Now we will show you one of the methods how to do it. As you can see, we have a main cable about 1.5 meters from the ground, and we have this small string that goes from it to the base of the plant. Okay, so now we will try to show on this plant from a closer look exactly what I'm doing. So I'm tying the strings on the base of the plant, gently as possible. It shouldn't be too strong. Like this. Then I choose the main stem, which is this one. You can see it's bigger than the other one. And I start to go with the string and loop it. As gently as possible until it's standing straight with the strings. Now after we loop it and it looks good, we can tie it up here. Now we have tied it, and when it will grow, every couple of days we will come back to the plant and we will turn the plant around the strain, just like this, until the end of the season. Thank you.